But sometimes the people who should love you the most make you question everything. Today on Our Space. Paradise Lost, when my husband chose his mother over our family. I always believed that marriage meant creating your own family unit, that leaving and cleaving wasn't just a saying, it was the foundation of building something new. But life has a way of testing those beliefs, of pushing you to decide what you're willing to accept and what you simply cannot tolerate. And sometimes the most painful revelations come with the promise of paradise. Let me start from the beginning. Maybe you'll understand. 6 years of marriage. 2 beautiful daughters, one just learning to express herself at 3 years old, the other barely crawling at 9 months. I thought we had built something unbreakable. My husband and I against the world, raising our little girls in a home filled with love and respect. But there was always this shadow looming over us. My mother-in-law, the woman who never forgave me for stealing her baby boy, her youngest, her self-proclaimed mama's boy. From the day we got engaged, she made it clear I was the intruder, the thief who took what belonged to her. I tried to brush it off. She'll come around, everyone said. Once grandchildren arrive, she'll soften. They were wrong. When our first daughter was born, my mother-in-law couldn't even bring herself to hold her. A newborn baby, innocent and perfect, rejected because she came from my body. It broke my heart, not for me, but for my daughter. When our second came along 9 months ago, nothing changed. 2 beautiful children that their grandmother refused to touch, to acknowledge, to love. So when my sister-in-law proposed a family vacation to Hawaii, just her family and ours, it felt like a gift, a chance to create memories without that constant cloud of disapproval. My sister-in-law had always been my champion. Unlike her mother, she welcomed me into the family, loved my children as her nieces, and understood the strain her mother's behavior put on us. She deliberately planned this trip without her mother, a rare opportunity for us to enjoy family time without walking on eggshells. I was so excited. The girls on the beach, family dinners watching the sunset, photos and memories that would last a lifetime. Then came the call. My mother-in-law crying to my husband about being excluded, about how everyone was leaving her out. The same woman who couldn't bring herself to hold my children was suddenly devastated at the prospect of not joining us in paradise. I was in the kitchen making dinner when my husband came home with that look on his face, the one that told me he had done something I wouldn't like. I invited my mom to Hawaii, he said, as if announcing he'd picked up milk from the store. Not a question, not a discussion, a decision he'd made unilaterally about our family vacation. I felt like the floor had disappeared beneath me. Why would you do that? I asked. She doesn't even acknowledge our children exist. She's never even held them. He shrugged, actually shrugged, and said, "She's my mom." She was upset. What was I supposed to do? In that moment, I realized something fundamental had never changed in our marriage. He had never fully left. He had never fully chosen us. I took a deep breath and tried to keep my voice steady. If you want to invite your mom, that's your choice. But I need you to understand that I won't be going, and neither will the girls. He looked at me like I'd slapped him. You're giving me an ultimatum? My mother or my family? I hadn't meant it that way, but yes, that's exactly what it had become. I'm not going to subject myself or our daughters to a week of being ignored and disrespected. Not on what's supposed to be a vacation. I expected him to backtrack, to realize what he was risking. Instead, he doubled down. She raised me, he said, voice hard. She deserves to be invited. She's family too. In that moment, I knew. I knew exactly where I stood. I was his wife, but I wasn't his priority. My children were his daughters, but they weren't his priority either. His mother, the woman who had systematically rejected the family we built together, She was his priority. The days that followed were a blur of tears and tense silence. My sister-in-law called, horrified when she heard what had happened. "I'll uninvite her," she offered. "It's my trip too." But I refused. This wasn't about the trip anymore. This was about something fundamental in my marriage that had finally been exposed. Something I couldn't unsee. Then came an unexpected lifeline. My sister-in-law bought tickets for me and my girls. "You shouldn't miss out because of this," she insisted. "The girls deserve this vacation, and so do you." I hesitated. The thought of being in paradise with this tension hanging over us seemed anything but relaxing. But she was right about one thing. My daughters deserved this experience, and perhaps, selfishly, I needed to show my husband what he was choosing to lose. So here I sit, in an airport terminal, my 3-year-old coloring beside me, my baby sleeping against my chest. Across the waiting area, my husband sits with his mother. They haven't approached us once. My sister-in-law and her family have become our buffers, our allies, our safe harbor in this storm. The flight attendant just announced boarding for our flight to Honolulu. My husband and his mother will sit together. I'll have my girls. And somewhere over the Pacific, I'll be making peace with the decision I never thought I'd face, whether this marriage can survive when the vows we made have been so fundamentally broken. When we return home, I'm going to suggest couples therapy, not just for us, but with his mother too. Because this isn't just about a vacation anymore. This is about whether we can be a family at all. And if he refuses, if he continues to prioritize his mother's feelings over the well-being of his wife and children, then I'll know it's time to make one of the hardest decisions of my life, because my daughters deserve to grow up in a home where they are valued, cherished, and prioritized. They deserve to understand that love doesn't come with conditions, manipulations, or rejections. And honestly, so do I. Am I wrong for setting this boundary? For refusing to pretend that his mother's behavior is acceptable? For demanding that my husband actually be a husband and father first? I don't think so. But sometimes standing in your truth means standing alone, at least for a while. What would you do in my position? Have you ever had to choose between peace and principle? Between what's easy and what's necessary? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And if you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more. Until next time, remember that family isn't just about blood, it's about choice. And sometimes the hardest choices are the ones that ultimately set us free.